What the heck is poppin', mobile gamers and insomniacs alike? I'm the Mobile Jockey in person. Today I'm coming at you with part 1 of episode 3 of the Game Plan Hockey series. I'll be uploading part 2 very shortly after this video goes up. My tablet doesn't have enough storage space to be able to contain the whole video, so I'm breaking it into 2 parts for you guys. Let's get into it. Now today I wanted to talk to you guys about the contracts that I currently have on the team, so you guys get to know the players a little bit better, see who I'm working with, see what decisions I'm making and why I'm making them a little bit better. But before we do that, there's some news with the team itself. Now there was also a massive trade that went down that I will be covering in part 2 of this video, but with my team, Louis-Philippe Corner has improved to a 73 overall, Cody Wages has regressed down to a 71 overall, and free agent Sasu Huttunen has signed a 2-year, $151,000 contract. Let's get into the remainder of the contracts on the team, shall we? Now to begin, we have John Lundstrand on a 1-year, $163,000 contract. He has regressed throughout the year. He played his way out of the lineup. I do not plan on re-signing him. He's also 34 years old. Moving on next to Carlo Orlik, 29 years old. He was a free agent before the season started, who I signed to a 5-year, $187,000 contract. I see him as a future first liner. He's currently on the second line right now. I had him starting on the third, but he played his way up to the second line, and I do believe he can take the helm over from Demidov eventually. Speaking of Rushan Demidov, who was given to me on a 1-year, $292,000 contract, who I have already re-signed. He's the captain of the team, highest scoring player, 29 goals, 43 assists for 72 points. If it wasn't for injuries and other stuff, I do believe he would have been at a point a game. Cannot wait to see what he can do next year. Now we have Gene Thomas Thierry, who was 28 years old, given to me on a 3-year, $225,000 contract. Solid third liner. He can play second if he has to. Good depth piece. Doesn't really put up a ton of points, but he puts up enough to be able to help, and he has gotten game winners in the season before. And last but not least, for the center spot, we have Musa Human, 26 years old, given to me on a 3-year, $120,000 contract. I thought he was a solid fourth liner, and all my time in Kennesaw, I think he is the best fourth liner I've had. He didn't really put up a ton of points, but he played well off the puck and helped in other areas of the game to help us win games. And with that being said, we move on to the forward, starting off with Monsieur Garon, 24 years old. I picked him up off of the waiver wire on a 3-year, $90,000 contract. Solid depth piece. He put up a healthy amount of points, I thought, for being bottom 6. Moving on now, we have Stéphane Passette, 25 years old, given to me. Like I said, he was given to me on a 4-year, $180,000 contract. He's a very versatile player, able to play anywhere from the top 6 to the bottom line. Only thing that slightly worries me is that he is inconsistent, but he is consistent enough to where he can play on the lineup every night, and he will not be a liability. And now we have Eduardes Laipa, given to me on a 3-year, $90,000 contract, 24 years of age. My waiver wire pickups that I picked up to replace the people who I was sending out ended up forcing him out of the lineup. I personally did not think he played very well this year, although I expect better from him next year. He's only 24 years old, so I do expect him to be able to turn it around. And up next, we have Alejandro Ragnan, 29 years old, on a 3-year, $225,000 contract. I picked him up off of the waiver wire. I started him on the fourth line due to the depth that I had and the way that things were going at the time. However, with consistency and proving himself night in and night out, he does now have a top spot in the top 6, and I do plan on starting him in the first line and opening night next season. And up next, we have Frederic Lahaye, 23 years old. I signed him as a free agent before the season started to a 5-year, $91,000 contract. He's shown improvement throughout the year. I expect him to show more improvement next year. Can't wait to see what he can do in a top 6 role. And moving on now, we have Christoph Sedilo, 27 years old, given to me on a 2-year, $292,000 contract. He started on the first line at the beginning of the year. He stayed on the first line the entire year. He played phenomenally the entire season. One of our highest scorers. Glad to have him back next season. And up next, we have Thomas Haudak, 28 years old, given to me on a 2-year, $281,000 contract. Inconsistency forced him down the lineup. I currently have him on a third-line role. He started the year off on the first line, although other players I felt were more consistent more often. Felt like I felt like they deserved a shot, and they got it, and they took it. And moving on, before I brain fart myself out of existence. We have Hosea Alonso, 35 years old, given to me on a 1-year, $196,000 contract. He regressed throughout the year. I do not plan on re-signing him, although I thought he did have one good last season before I feel like his play starts to dwindle. And last but not least, the man I mentioned at the top of the show, holy shit, Cody Wages, 32 years old, picked him up on the waiver wire on a 2-year, $180,000 contract. He played his way up from the third line to the first line. Over his 60 games with us, he put up 20 goals and 20 assists for 40 points. I do not see any reason why he could not do that next year, even though he is turning 33, along with Demidov. And with that all being said and done, this is the end of part 1. Be watching out for part 2 very shortly after this video goes up. Have a good one, everybody. I'll see you very shortly.